Hello everyone and welcome to episode 11 of the PE Geek Podcast, and as always it's a pleasure to be here. There's heaps going on in the world of physical education and technology. I mean, I say that every time, but it's absolutely true, and it's not going to stop anytime soon as well. As always, I'm incredibly busy traveling around the world running workshops and still teaching full time, and I'm not going to have it any other way, to be perfectly honest. So if you've just got back from a workshop with me recently and you've just stumbled across this first episode of the podcast, welcome. If you're a regular listener, thank you for joining me again. And as you may remember, in the last episode, I handed out a coupon code to all podcast listeners, which gave them access to the blog, the membership section of the blog, for a big discount. Now, that's still available. So if you want to access membership to the PE Geek blog, which gives you access to 2 free apps a month. It gives you access to all the ebooks I've produced, discounts on workshops, you name it, members newsletter, it's in there, exclusive products, etc. Then visit thepegeek.com/members and you'll see that the normal price of the membership is $39.99. Now that's a once-off lifetime payment. It's yours. You are a member of the site for as long as you're alive, and you can request 2 free apps per month. Now, if you enter the coupon code podcast, you'll be able to get the membership for $19.99. That's a saving of obviously $20. So go ahead, jump on board that. There's unlimited amount of uses of that coupon code. However, I'm likely to stop it in the next month or so. So go and do it right now, and you'll be able to benefit from that big discount. So if you've been following me online in the last few months, you will have heard me talking about my new website, Active Globe. And essentially this website has been something I've wanted to do for a number of years. However, I've just been sort of holding off and trying to think of the perfect way to do it, and trying to find the right people to bring it to life. And it all happened that I stumbled across the right person for the job, and it's something that I started working on about 2 months ago now. And it's ready. It's absolutely ready for action. You can go to activeglobe.net and you'll actually see it. Now, I've pretty much made it at the perfect time, because my students that I teach in Year 7 sport, they're about to embark on something that would make this the perfect test group for the new website. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Active Globe and you haven't seen me talk about it, you're probably wondering what on earth I'm actually talking about and what it actually does. Now, I'm going to leave the initial introduction up to my good friend who's actually written a reggae-style rap. Take it away.
Yeah. It is Active Globe. Turn your students' physical activity into a real world experience. This is a game changer. Yes, I'm serious. Active Globe takes you around the globe to complete your fitness goals. Select a real world start and destination goal on a Google map, and away you go. How cool is that? Swim, run, cycle and walk your way to your destination without hesitation. Work as a class to achieve your fitness goals. This is a fun way to introduce exercise into your students' lives. One love, you know.
Well, there you go. Active Globe, the reggae style rap coming to your nearest music store. Anyway, if you caught that, you probably now have a little bit of an idea about what Active Globe does. It's all about your students, and it's all about physical activity. And quite simply, you sign up as a class and you create accounts for all your students. Now, the website does that automatically for you. You just need to import your class list. It sends them an email and it invites them to get started, and they log into their account. And when they log in, they are on the student dashboard. Now, on their dashboard, they have a Google map. And at this point, they can actually edit their goal. Now, their goal is a distance-based goal. And quite simply, they click Edit Goal and they pick a starting destination. Now, it may be their school. So they would find their school on the Google map. And then they go and pick their finishing destination or where they'd like to finish. And in this case, they might, pick their school, which is in Melbourne, Australia, and they might pick their finish destination, which is in Sydney, Australia. Once they've plotted their start and finish destinations, and it could be anywhere on the planet, they click Save. And Active Globe tells them how far that is, and it draws the actual path on the map that they would need to take. Now, the next step is to actually get active. So they can walk, run, cycle, or swim, and they log into their dashboard. And once they've done that, they hit Log New Activity. And it says, okay, how far did you run? And they can enter it in. Or it also says, how many steps did you do? And they can enter in how many steps they've done. What it then does is it adds this to their dashboard and moves them ever so slightly towards their goal. Now, over time, they continue this logging of activity, and they can eventually say that they, as an individual, ran between Melbourne and Sydney, or they swam the equivalent of London to France, or whatever it is they want to accumulate over time. The idea being that it's sort of like a game experience, and they pretty much have to work their way to achieve it. Now, there's leaderboards inside there as well, so in the class, they have a class ranking, the person who's completed the most distance, and they also have a world ranking, which compares them to everyone else who's in Active Globe. You may also be asking that in terms of the class-based account, the teacher can set a class goal in the same way that the students would. Now, the class goal might be on a bigger scale, so it could be, a couple of 1,000 kilometers, or, something greater than the individual goals. Now, essentially, when all the students log into their dashboard, they log in and they will see that they can log their activities, and all of the students' activities from that class not only go towards their individual goals, but they get added together and move the class along the map. So at the moment, my Year 7s, they're running from Melbourne to Sydney. And the other day, they all did a run where they averaged between 2 and 3 kilometers. Now, individually on their own goal, they moved 2 kilometers towards their goal. However, as a class, add up all 20 of them, and they did about 2 or 3 kilometers, they had actually traveled about 60 kilometers together. And we were able to work as a class to progress towards our goal. Now, that's the idea behind Active Globe, and it's certainly something that I'm seeing also of interest in not just running, but cycling and swimming, etc. as well. And a lot of schools from all over the globe are starting to use it. So if you want to get started with it, then you can head to activeglobe.net/schools, and there you'll see a video about how it works, and then you can sign up, add all your students, and go from there. You've also got the ability to have an individual account. So if it's just you and you just want to do it for your own fitness gains, then you can go for it. Now, I did mention that there'd be a couple of apps that would integrate with Active Globe, and there certainly is. So at the moment, if you log into your dashboard, you can see that you've got a profile. And on your profile, you can set your step length in case you want to use a pedometer to track your steps and enter them in as such, which is something that a lot of schools will use. However, there's also the ability to add in a Runkeeper connection. Now, if you've never heard or seen of the Runkeeper app, essentially it's a smartphone app that turns your phone into a GPS tracking device. So you put your phone in your phone in your pocket, and go for a run, and it tracks the distance and the speed and everything that you accumulate. Now, basically, once you've connected your profile in Active Globe to Runkeeper, any run, cycle, swim that you do with, actually I wouldn't recommend swimming with your phone, but any of those things that you do automatically get logged into Active Globe. And it means it's incredibly more accurate because it's a GPS tracking that takes place. We've also connected it with Fitbit. Now, if you've heard me talk about these before, they're little activity tracking bands that you wear on your wrist or on your belt. And as you just participate in physical activity throughout the day and walk and run and do whatever else you do, it logs the amount of steps that you take, etc. Now, you can wear your Fitbit and connect it to Active Globe, and it automatically pushes this data to Active Globe and moves you along your map. And thirdly, We've also in the process of connecting the Moves app for iPhone. Now, Moves is a really, really cool app that is available on iPhone, iPod Touch, etc. And it's something that everyone can download and install. So you open the app up and quite literally it starts tracking any physical activity that you do. Put it in your pocket or your handbag and you just do your normal day's activity, normal day action, work, etc. And at the end of the day, you get a basic snapshot of how many steps you've done. You get a timeline that shows you the times that you started doing certain activities. It's really, really interesting. So I'm looking at mine here today, and at 9:55, I did a 3-minute walk before hopping into a car for an hour and 54-minute trip. It knows all of this and it does it all automatically. And then it says, oh, you did a 4-minute walk before you arrived at home. And then I did a 20-minute walk after a period of rest at home. It works this out into an interactive timeline. Now, it's called Moves, and you can get it at the pegeek.com/moves. And we've also integrated this, or in the process of integrating that to Active Globe. So pretty much just completing your day's normal activity, the data will end up in Active Globe and you'll be able to move it across. So lots of opportunities there for motivating students in physical activity. We've got plenty of plans to develop this into the future. However, if you want to get started, head along to activeglobe.net and you'll see everything you need to get motivated. Also, while we're here, I've just released a new free iPhone, iPad app called Sport Search. Now, Sport Search is quite literally just a word search app. Now, I've designed and developed it because of a number of people who've asked, what can you do with someone who has a broken arm or can't participate for a period of time? Well, I built this app and it's free and it's something that you can use with your students to expose them to a whole host of sports and the terminologies of those sports. I mean, there's over 50 sports included. Alternatively, you can use it as something to engage those people that may not be able to participate in a normal lesson for whatever reason. So Sport Search is available and you can get it at iTunes by going to thepegeek.com/sportsearch and that will redirect you to iTunes to download it for free. So go and check it out. There's over 50 sports and there's a leaderboard and quests and all sorts of good things to sort of motivate a little bit of healthy learning inside of the PE classroom. Now, as I've mentioned a few times, it is possible to leave me a question, and these questions often get used inside of episodes. And if you wanted to do that, you can head along to thepegeek.com/voicemail, and it will redirect you to a website called SpeakPipe, where you can leave a voice message to me, and I actually get an email that as soon as these have been posted. And in the last couple of months, I've been getting them quite regularly. And I'm just picking and choosing the questions that I get. And I'm going to add them at the end of some of the episodes when I think they're relevant. And I'm also going to compile them into a episode that is just all the questions that you guys have. So if you definitely want to feature inside of one of these episodes and ask me a question, it's pretty likely that other people have a very similar question in mind. So head along to thepegeek.com/voicemail and you can do so. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin, who has left today's question.
Hi, Jared. This is Kevin from Phys Ed Review. First of all, I'd like to say I really enjoy all that you put out. Really enjoying your podcasts. Really gives me some good ideas on how I can use technology in the classroom. And my question is this. I have an iPad that I use in class, but what I'm trying to do is over the next year or so do some fundraising or maybe write a grant to get iPads that my students will use. So my question is, how do you manage multiple devices in the same classroom? What are your classroom management techniques or organizational things that you do in your class to manage those devices? Any special applications that sort of link maybe all the iPads together? That I can look at on my own device to see the students working or answering questions or the progress that they have. Is there anything out there that will link all iPads to my iPad? So basically, that's my question. And once again, really appreciate all you do for us out there in technology land, and really appreciate it.
thank you, Kevin, for that question. It's definitely one that I've been asked numerous times by people at workshops in similar situations to yourself. Now, I'm going to start by thanking you for all that you do online as well. It's incredibly great to be able to connect with someone regularly who has a passion for PE and technology and, uses and shares as much as possible. So keep that up, please. Now, it's great to also know that you've been able to do as much as you have with only one device, and when you get access to a few more, it's going to make a lot of things easier for you in terms of being able to share it with students. And the potential for transformation is definitely increased when you get more devices. So I look forward to hearing how that goes. Now, in terms of making things a little easier for yourself, there's a couple of things I can recommend. Now, one thing that people tend to struggle with is the downloading and sharing of apps. Now, if you're talking about a class set and, let's say you've got 20 devices and you want to have apps installed on all of them, the easiest way to do this is through Apple Configurator. Now, there are some other tools out there that do help you manage multiple installations of apps across devices, and one of them is called Casper. However, I use Apple Configurator to manage our fleet of 25 iPads at the school that I work at. And quite simply, once you've signed up to the volume purchasing program, now that's something that you can access being in the United States, you get the ability to buy bulk quantities of apps, and you get them at discount in most cases if they're part of the volume purchasing program, which all of my apps are, and most people who are in that educational space put theirs in to the volume purchasing program. Now, what it does is it lets you download a heap of promo codes, and you put that into the Apple Configurator tool, and you can basically redeem the apps across all of those devices, either over the air wirelessly, or you can connect them physically and get them installed. Now, the good thing about that is it makes it easy to manage. Now, I know it's not directly related to your question, but getting apps onto devices has always been a little bit of a pain. I'm not going to lie, it can be something that takes a lot of time. So it's definitely needed, it's definitely advised to be using one of these management tools, either Apple Configurator or Casper. Now, Casper's a paid product, so that's why I haven't recommended it straight off the bat. But yeah, Apple Configurator has definitely enabled us to be able to manage the installation of apps and everything a little more automatically. So go and check that out. Now, one of the other features of the iPad, which may be of use to your students, is the ability to put apps into kiosk mode. Now, you may be familiar with this process, but if you're not, you can head into settings and you can enable what's called guided access. And quite simply, once that's turned on, you can triple click the home button and it'll bring up the guided access features. Now, you'd open up the app that you wanted to use first and you'd triple click the home button. And you can pretty much then lock the app to that particular, lock the device to that particular app. Now, in the case of, let's say, you're wanting to have students do one particular thing, and you're not quite sure that they can be trusted to do that and not everything else that is on the iPad, then you can lock it to one app and make it possible for them to do one thing and one thing only. Now, in my case, I've never done that. I've never used that feature. I've never, ever even thought about it. And the reason being is that I think, like any tool, the iPad is just a tool. And if I want my students to be on task, then, I think that comes down to me keeping them on task through engagement. And if I can do that, then they don't do the wrong thing. However, if there may be some students in your group that may not, without any hesitation, want to do what you think. So, it is a way to prevent them from doing maybe the wrong thing. Now, in terms of getting content off of multiple devices, let's say you're taking photos, or the students are taking photos, or they're taking videos. One of the things that has really helped me is the installation of Google Drive or another cloud-based tool onto the school iPads. Now, the students log into their Google Drive accounts and they can then upload their footage and photos, etc., to their personal space. However, one of the things you could do, if the students didn't have their own Google accounts, you could just log in you could, on a school account, on one account, on all of the iPads, and then show and teach the students how they go about putting photos into that shared space. So, I mean, that's one way of getting content off. It's always a bit of a problem with teachers, and a cloud-based tool definitely sorts it. So go and add Google Drive, and you'll be able to reap the benefits of that cloud-based connection. Now, the good thing is a lot of apps, in fact, most apps, allow the ability to open or export content to other apps, and Google Drive allows this. So, I mean, you can be working inside of Coach's Eye, and you can export the video that the students are working on direct to Google Drive. So, I mean, having that on there is a really, really big plus. Now, if you're looking at sharing sort of presentations and getting questions and answers back from students, I mean, you can't look past the Nearpod app. Now, the Nearpod app is a brilliant tool which lets you as the teacher upload presentations, and then the students open the app on their device. They enter in a PIN number, and it basically pushes the presentation to their devices. Now, you as a teacher then moves through it, and they get access to seeing what you're seeing and so on. And you as a teacher can ask questions and quizzes, and you can do sort of interactive activities through Nearpod. So, I mean, highly recommended in terms of showcasing what's on your screen with the group. Now, in terms of a couple of simple things that you can do to help the organization, well, I mean, numbering devices is definitely something that we have gone about doing. Now, we've got cases for each of the iPads that we have at our school, and each of those has a number on them. Now, that number helps us with tracking which ones are being used by certain students. I mean, the students then can continue to use the same iPads, and there's a bit of responsibility that then goes with it. I mean, if they're getting iPad number 10 all the time, you know that they're using that iPad, and there's a little bit of trust that's built up across it. Now, Tony Vincent from Learning in Hand, if you've never seen his website, it's learninginhand.com, and he has created a heap of wallpapers which are numbered. And basically, a great way to do this, rather than marking physically on the iPad, is to put the wallpaper onto the iPad, and on that is the number of the iPad. It's really fantastic and such a simple idea, and I know lots of teachers have installed his wallpapers like this. Now, also, you probably want to have some sort of system for charging, and depending on how many you've got, there is a number of solutions that you can utilize to sort of help with this aspect. And because we've got 25 iPads, I mean, trying to charge 25 of them at once is a bit of a nightmare. Until we ordered and bought a iPad storage case. Now, this storage case is by a company called PC Locks, LOCS. There's plenty of them out there. I mean, I'm pretty certain you'd be able to get that where you are. And basically, we place the iPads into the case, and we can connect them to a power source, one power source, and pretty much all 16 iPads get charged at once, and then our remaining iPads, which are another 10, well, they're accessed and they're charged individually in the teachers' classrooms who actually has them. So, yeah, I mean, it's worthwhile looking at how you're going to be charging multiple devices if you get many. Otherwise, it is something that you'll have to deal with in terms of management. Now, they've definitely, the PC Locks charging bay has certainly been something that's made our iPad management all that little bit easier. So hopefully that's answered, I mean, part of your question. If it hasn't, you can always go back to the pegeek.com/voicemail and you can ask again. And that goes for anyone else who has a question. I mean, I really encourage you to do that. It certainly helps shape the podcast, and I love hearing from people, and I love hearing the sort of questions that they have. So that brings us to the end of episode 11. Hopefully you found one thing that maybe is of interest, if it's the Sports Search app, or whether or not you want to go and track your students' progress in Active Globe, then, I highly recommend it. So until next time, keep using tech, keep trying. I mean, that's all you can do. Try, see if it works. If it doesn't, don't use it. If it does, I mean, how can you improve it for next time? That's what it's all about. So until then, I'll see you on episode 12. Thank you.